1, 2, 3. Spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
All right, cool. There you go. That's how we do it. So,
Yeah, it's the spaghetti.
I feel like my husband's gonna be like,
sorry to all my Italian viewers, but
I'm a spaghetti.
that looks so much more dramatic. This like motion with your sleeve, Lex. I gotta say, you and Amanda just got like the
Like you're
extra.
gonna zap someone out of existence.
Oh,
I
you guys
know.
both have the sleeve. That's
I
cool.
know. That is so sick.
I
wore
love
this
the
because
sleeve.
That is awesome.
I'm jealous.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to the 20th episode of the Nintendo Roundtable podcast. Woo! Woo! There's like, you won't believe this. There's a crowd of people outside my house right now. They're celebrating.
They've surrounded my apartment.
I know.
Yeah, they're beating down the doors right now.
Yeah, God. Anyway, but you guys didn't realize that today's show was so special, right? I mean, well, if you can believe it,
I don't
today's
realize a lot of things.
well, I'm about to blow your
Every
mind then,
episode is
because
special.
today's
There he
show it's about to get even more special because we have
Whoa!
some brand new faces making their appearance around the channel. As you all found out last month, we have webcams now for those that watch on YouTube. And of course, we have that new Zelda game to talk about. You know, it's kind of a big deal, only years in the making, as well as the follow-up sequel to one of the biggest selling shakeups of the Zelda franchise in our lifetimes. But I digress. I digress.
Hey, what? Zelda?
Yeah, I
I
don't
played
know.
one or two
You know,
of those
the
games
boy.
before.
It's weird.
This is
What
a
is-
niche title.
It's like-
Weird.
it's so funny
He
saying
carries
this.
he carries a sword sometimes.
Yeah, and
Zelda.
there's like
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't buy it.
it's funny that we're all saying this, and like at least half of the room has just this wall of like Zelda paraphernalia behind them.
No.
It's so
Never
funny.
heard of this.
What are you talking about?
Is it a band?
I think
It's a
I
band,
don't know,
right?
They gave me this like thing, and it's like
It looks
K-pop,
broken.
like the light
I
up.
think you should return it.
Yeah, I should
Yeah,
charge
yeah,
it.
I don't
think
I
it's
can take it
supposed
off
to
your
look
hands
like
if you
that.
want.
It looks
That
like
looks
pretty-
hella broken.
Must be showing like some sort of shipping malfunction. Anyway, we got all this and more on today's show. But before we continue, let's go ahead and make our way around the table to get our panel introduced here. Starting with you, newcomer Jess. Who are you? What's your story? Let our listeners know.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jess, aka Golden Chaos, and I am the owner of Zelda Universe. So obviously, I love Zelda a lot, and I've been working on Zelda Universe for almost 20 years now, which is crazy to think. Yeah, it's insane. My tenure at Zelda Universe is now old enough to vote in the U.S.
Oh, that's
So,
good. That's good.
Yeah,
Wild.
that's me in a nutshell. It's been, probably like a nearly a decade that since I've been like public and on YouTube and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be back, be doing stuff publicly. Yeah,
That's
I'm
good.
really happy to be here.
Yeah, happy that you're here too. Happy to have met you at PAX East and shared some. Oh my God, what are they called?
It was
Crackling
so
Oat
great to
Bran?
meet.
The one that
Yeah,
Amanda
it was a
brought.
great moment.
What
The
do we
gift
do?
that keeps
Amanda-
on giving. We gotta
When
love
Amanda
it.
busted out the Crackling Oat brand, that was the bonding moment.
Oh
It was
my
the
God.
greatest moment.
It is the inside joke of this entire podcast.
It really is. It started like somewhere near the beginning of the
It
show.
started
I
in
don't remember.
June 2021 because I remember hearing about it when I was recording here in California the last time
Oh
before
my
I
God,
moved.
you remember the date and everything.
I'm pretty sure because I remember being recording right over there because that used to be a desk area
Wow.
and hearing about Crackling Oat Bread, and I'm like, that is not a real cereal name.
Man,
What are
you're
you talking
changing
about?
lives, Amanda. What can I say?
Good stuff. And I just love how much sugar is in it. Like, there's more sugar in Crackle and Oat Bran than Reese's Puffs.
Yeah, that was so
Gee.
weird. I was
What?
expecting
That's
like
what
old
impressive.
people.
to me. It's like,
But it doesn't have,
Wait, really?
but
Oh
it
my
doesn't
God.
have the
A
peanut butter
cereal with
chocolate
fiber.
flavor.
I can see it because
Yeah.
like whenever we had it at the show, I I
was
took one and I was
sweet.
like, this tastes like Teddy Grahams or
I
something.
like how you said it. You took one. Like, it was
Yeah, like it's some sort of drug, like just illegal
you gotta get a
distribution
Crackle and
of,
Oat Bran.
behind
Crackling
the
Oat
panel
Bread,
doors.
only legal in New Jersey and Georgia. Very little else.
A little bit of that crackling
Smuggled it across
courage
state
before we get
lines.
on stage, you know. Anyway,
Damn, that's crazy.
but yeah,
Sponsor us.
it exceeded my expectations. I thought it was gonna taste like old people cereal, but like it was pretty
No,
good.
it's
Pretty good.
not.
It was pretty good.
It
Old
is-
people cereal.
Or,
It
like,
is
No,
you hear
that-
crackling
cereal
Oat
disguised as
Bran.
old people cereal.
I'm not saying Amanda's old. I was just saying like it
Hey,
sounded like
Crackling
old
Oat
people
Bran.
cereal.
Hey, Crackle
So-
Oakland, sponsor us, please.
Yeah.
I know you're
Put my
watching.
face on the box.
Just like,
Put Amanda's face on the box.
yeah, exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
Perfect.
Amanda, would you like to take the microphone away from me and introduce yourself to the show here? Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
sure. Hi, guys. I am Amanda Van Heil. I like Crackle Oat Brand. I also like Zelda. Next month marks 10 years with Zelda Universe, which is insane. I don't think I've been anywhere for 10 years ever, so this is kind of cool. But yeah, I host Zelda Weekly, which used to be called Zelda News. We call it Zelda Weekly, so we can show off more Zelda things instead of things that just happened in the past few days. And then I also just show up places where Zelda is being discussed. I do a lot of the panels. I just show up on podcasts and things. Like, basically, if there's a Zelda discussion, I'm going to find a way to get myself in there.
She's
Yeah.
there. She's there. So would you like to introduce Prince Sidon as well? Or is
I
he
would
not part
love
of
to
it?
introduce
Okay.
Prince Sidon. Hang on just a second. Let me
Oh
get
my
back there.
God.
Go get him.
This is the part where we rip out all of our toys, like last
Before
time.
we even start,
Oh,
I don't want to see your
I know
we
you
portfolio.
know that
we
the
just
way you
going
said
straight
that.
to the merch.
Look at that. Look at woo!
look, I spent.
Look at that handsome fish husband.
Oh, boy.
This is Prince Sidon. I got him for Christmas from my father-in-law that I ended up opening in front of everybody.
Your
It was the
father-in-law.
greatest moment.
What an honor.
Skyward Sword
Amanda-
soft.
Did you get that on video?
I did not get it on video, but I fell into Dan's lap laughing.
That yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
I am
amazing
obsessed
that your
with Zelda.
father-in-law
If
just
he's-
knew.
No, I had it on my wish list I put it on my wish list 2 years ago. And I completely forgot about it.
It's a
I
long
wasn't
time
expecting
coming.
to get anything for Christmas because I'm like, just do something about the house being a disaster right now and being torn apart. Something about help us redo the kitchen, whatever. And instead, I opened it up and it was Sidon, and he's like looking at Dan's like, did I get the right one? And he's like, oh yeah.
Uh-huh. You don't
And then
know
it has
it.
a tight, and it's
You sure did.
giving Shape of Water. I love it.
Shape of Water. Oh no.
I don't know what happens in that movie.
Yeah, well, that was a fever dream.
Shape of Water was just a Prince Sidon fan fiction.
All right.
I'll accept that.
In a more I don't know where to find the words. Hestu. I see Hestu on screen. Let's talk about Hestu.
Yeah. Say hi to Hestu.
Hi, Mary.
Oh, my
Hi.
favorite broccoli.
I love that he has
Yeah.
the little maracas. He shakes.
I do too. He's really cute. I wish I'll have to look up the name of the shop so you can stick it on screen. I'll look it up for you.
Yeah.
But also, yes, hello, hi, my name is Mary, aka Mary Wants a Cookie. I'm coming up on my 6-year anniversary with Zelda Universe as the social media director. Yeah.
Wow. Just a
whatever,
bunch of
I'm-
important anniversaries coming up soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, when people
I
come
just
to Zelda
realized
Universe
that.
this day.
Yeah, I just realized that. I was I think July is whenever I started. So almost 6 years now. And then whenever I'm not doing stuff for ZU, I am making content over at Destructoid.
Nice, nice. Playing some Tears of the Kingdom this past week too. I saw very, very
A
exciting.
lot. Yep.
We'll talk about that for sure. Yeah. Lex, I see you have a nice collector's edition sitting next to you. I don't have mine on me, but
What?
it looks
What?
nice.
Oh, that old thing?
Yeah, that big box. And the sleeve, and you have everything, don't you? Or something?
I have almost everything, actually. Part of it was just given to me last week at my grad school commencement because I have friends that were like, yo, I got you. And then they gave me a lot. So that's
Wow. Can I be their
wild.
friend? That sounds really nice.
Sure.
All right, that's it. I'm coming to California. Easy.
Let's
Do
go.
it.
Hello, my name is Lex. I am that Lex plays on the internet. I am also the head of media at Zelda Universe, and
Don't tell me
I
you have
also
an
did-
anniversary.
You
hey
started around
Amanda.
the same time as me.
Hey Amanda.
A month
What?
after me.
It was in June.
Yeah, because it was.
I
right around the
also
E3
I was
that we both
also
started.
in June
What
of
the-
2013. So we might even be within a week or a couple days of each other.
Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah,
wow.
I've been at ZU for almost a decade and will continue to
Wow.
be mortified of the fact that it's been a decade. I have been running the media
You
team
were-
since 2016.
You were a baby when that started.
Yeah, I was
wow.
just out of high
You were a
school.
baby.
I was just out of
Wow.
high school when I was joining ZU, and now I am almost through grad school.
Woo,
Time is a
time.
weird soup, and I scream about it in the void constantly.
Wow. There's a couple anniversaries coming up. That's
So yeah, the lesson
crazy.
is don't join ZU staff, or else you'll have to be our friends forever.
Forever
Ah.
and ever.
Unfortunately,
And
Forever.
You wrote that into the contracts, right? Like
Sure.
when you first started the website, you had to just
Yeah.
like, okay, if you join the
unfortunately,
team,
for both you and for Daniel, by being just friends with us in general, you're already in our trap.
oh no!
Yeah, you're
Sorry.
associated with Zelda Universe by
It's like
us,
the
which means
sticky
you
web.
are basically Zelda Universe.
Crap. I can't do Mary's gremlin laugh, so that's my closest thing.
Yeah, you have to be playing like DVD or something. to get that to come
Exactly.
out.
yeah, I can't force the gremlin laugh. It has to happen
It has to
naturally.
be genuine.
It's quite fun though.
Well, speaking of Daniel, are you the last one that hasn't gone yet? Right?
It's me.
All right,
Yeah,
Daniel.
I feel outnumbered by the Zelda Universe team here right now. Y'all hiring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
Join the team.
I've got a reference.
Maybe
If you guys
you're
need a
already
reference,
in the
if
Oh,
anyone
no.
needs,
Cool.
You
I have
know
a reference
me,
for
Zelda?
my application. Yeah, I do.
You know the
She's
real
right-
link?
Yes.
Not the real
Yes.
link. He's off.
I take
jumping
Daniel.
around.
Daniel's mine.
Wow.
But hi. My name is Daniel Alba. You can find me on Twitter at Evernight Studio. I do a lot of graphic design. I'm the art director for Good Vibes Gaming.
stuff.
I contribute some videos to them as well. We do discussions about all kinds of Nintendo stuff, a lot of Zelda stuff right now, of course. We had a whole week of Zelda videos leading up to Tears of the Kingdom. I did one as well. Very much in line with the stuff that we all talk about. We all do. We spread good vibes and such. And it's always nice to be part of a discussion with you guys and with you, Alec. Thank you so much for always
Well,
letting me on to
shucks.
nerd out about Zelda and me not be ashamed to have a cute little plush of this Tears of the Kingdom Zelda here myself.
I love
I
it.
love it.
I don't have any Zelda plush other than well,
My
actually,
Zelda plushes are in the other room.
yeah, I don't have any Zelda
I
plush.
don't have any Zelda plushies. I'm sad.
And anything
Yeah.
else that I have, I'm gonna bring to the office. Oh, I forgot
Hood.
something for me.
a little hood on.
Oh my god, I love
Why would you ever be ashamed of owning something with such a cute hood?
That is adorable.
Also, it's Zelda. Screw it.
It's a convertible Zelda. That's crazy.
She just need a hood on. She doesn't want to. She just take the whole thing off.
Yeah.
There's a lot to this. There's a lot to this thing, but I love
We
it.
love costumes.
I feel like all the character designs in Tears of the Kingdom, like they're just chef's
So
kiss.
good.
Like,
I want to shake the
Especially-
hand of every character designer.
Oh, shit.
Every all you notice how all the Triforce holders in Tears of the Kingdom showing a lot more skin than they usually do. Nintendo knows what they're doing. Nintendo knows what they're doing.
Nope.
They know.
Nope. We'll get to this later, but
We
there were
will.
a bunch of characters that I saw for the first time and went, "Oh no!"
Okay.
Uh-oh. I bet I can name some, but we'll get there.
We'll get
Yeah,
there.
we'll get there.
yeah, like
We'll get
every
there.
single
Let me
one.
tell ya,
Every single one.
This is a thirsty Zelda game.
I don't have enough water to go through that. Mary knows. I've been texting.
I get the
Mary.
text messages.
Oh boy.
You've been
Only
sending thirst stuff to Mary and not me. I see how it is.
Only
You're
because
leaving Amanda. Do we need
Being
to
left out.
I
I'll
wouldn't
make
be in this
have to
group
be
chat.
included in any thirsty like tweets and text and all that.
Amanda's
Let
so
me
offended.
go ahead. Let me
Yeah.
go ahead and fix that.
How do we not just have an entire thirsty Slack channel?
Actually, I made
I don't
one at some
know,
point and
Jess,
deleted it.
owner of Zelda Universe.
do?
Why don't
We
we?
used to.
What? We used
At one
to.
point,
I'm sorry, what?
I made one, and then we were like, you know what? We don't want to get in trouble.
Wait,
so we
wait,
deleted
who
it.
made one?
Let's
God.
get in
Uh,
trouble.
What are
Me?
these lore drops that we're getting right now?
Big
What's
fan.
Am I the
now?
one? Am I the one
Yeah, he
getting
and I were
people in
like,
trouble
okay, let's
over
delete it
this?
because we didn't want to get in trouble, so we just created we just Discord each other. Thirsty Zelda pics.
I'm offended now. Now it's my turn to be offended.
Well,
It
great.
didn't last
Anyway.
long enough to like.
Yeah, you're
have
getting the deep cut lore here.
Yeah, I guess so. That's fantastic.
I'll be glad to make a new channel though.
Do it.
I say do it.
All
You
right.
have the approval. Okay. Well, anyway.
There's
She's
there's
like
your
doing it right now.
formal business approval. What more do you need?
Oh
I'll
my
sign
God.
the contract.
I'm gonna say that I run the thirst team.
Okay.
That on a business card.
Put that on the resume.
Well, thank
This
you
is the
all.
official founding of the Zelda Universe
Oh my god.
Thirst Team.
Where do we even go from there? I'm not even sure. Anyway, thank you all.
Alex, like,
For
how do
that.
I transition?
Yeah,
You
and
know-
It's the discussion eventually.
We do.
thanks for joining me.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me and sharing this lovely lore drop. And now you, dear listener, know this about the Zelda Universe team. So, why don't we just get right into Zelda, right? I'm saying Zelda a lot in these past
Yeah.
few sentences. It sounds like a not word anymore, but Zelda.
Hey,
right?
Alec, you should put a counter for how many times the phrase Zelda gets mentioned in this video.
I'll leave that to the Cracklin' Oat brand intern that's watching right now. So,
How many pieces of Cracklin Oat Bran
where the
have you
heck
eaten editing this video?
Where do you even begin with this game? I don't even know. So
The beginning. I heard
um,
that's a pretty good place to start.
That's true. I
Is
will
it with
say,
this game?
before we get into discussion, I will say, if you're listening to this, before we get started, all we will be talking about in this show today is what is present in the early game, as well as nothing that really exists in the story outside of what Nintendo has already shown in trailers and such, which is, to no one's surprise, not a lot. So, that being said, Daniel, I start with you
Yes.
because you're the next runner-up on hours played for this game.
Oh,
I believe.
sure.
What are your thoughts? Is Tears of the Kingdom at all what you were anticipating from a Breath of the Wild sequel? Did it live up to the hype from what you've played? Let us know your full unbridled thoughts. Story related, of course. Leave that out, but otherwise, full unbridled thoughts.
So 6 years ago, we were gifted Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, and that game changed the scope of how people view games. There's a certain pedigree that we've seen, and it's shaped how games are made now today. There's comparisons done all the time to games like Elden Ring and so on, but now with Tears of the Kingdom has come out, and they've somehow made that game seem like a tech demo, the starting point for what it would become with Tears of the Kingdom. There's so much that it built upon in those 6 years, and I don't know how they did it. And there's other devs that also don't know how they did it. They're like, how did they code this? How did they program this? This shouldn't. What kind of black magic did they do here? And like, as a player, were you gonna say something? Sorry.
I have an answer. They did it with a computer.
You're so smart. Oh my god, you're just the
Anyway,
beacon
continue.
of-
Sorry.
Thank you.
I should just leave now. I'm not smart enough for this
What's
discussion.
the point of you even continuing? That was just all you need to know.
Game's amazing. Is the long and short of it.
Game's amazing.
I cannot believe what they've accomplished here with something that was already very much revolutionary from 6 years ago, and now you have Tears of the Kingdom, which has so many layers on it. Like, the abilities are essentially games upon games in themselves. They could each be their own game, as one of my coworkers said on Good Vibes Gaming. It's ridiculous how much they were able to pack in to this game. And just in the starting area, the very first area, I was like, wow, this is something that I've been waiting for so long. And when you're finally there playing the game, it's a surreal feeling, and you want to just take that in. You don't want to like rush this game. You want to just kind of absorb that, because I wasn't sure if I was going to have the same feeling as Breath of the Wild when you walk out of the cave of the Shrine of Resurrection and you see that expanse. The shot that also changed gaming. Everyone has to have like that good horizon shot, that sweeping vista. I didn't think I was able to have a feeling like that again, but diving off and seeing, just the world for the first time, you get that. I get that kind of sense swelling up again. And it's weird because I wasn't really as hyped leading up to the game. I think I was kind of trying to keep my expectations low, because what could they do with the sequel here? They've done so much with Breath of the Wild. But as the trailers continued onward and we saw the final trailer, I was like, okay, I'm ready to dive into this, and it's a lot more than I ever expected.
That is really, really good. Now, whenever you hit the ground, right, for the first time, did you look at all the systems that this game has and thought to yourself, I have so many different methods available to me on how I can torture a Korok? Or are you normal?
I had a problem hitting the ground, actually.
I did too. I
That's my
splatted.
that's my first story was hitting the ground. So you land in the water, right? And then there's like a really tall tower somewhere. Like I want to know what's up there, but I can't get up there. So coincidentally, a piece of ruins fell down, and so I used the rewind there and went up. And then I jumped there. I kind of just had to skydive over, and then I couldn't get down without dying. So that was a problem. Because it has like a lip, so you can't just crawl down.
No.
Yep.
So I was like, I think I'm stuck, guys.
I think
So
I
I had
must
to, like,
pancake.
I had to very carefully leap. There's like a little pool on the side, like the edge of the river. I had to do it a few times. I just splatted for the first few attempts, just touching the water, but it was too shallow. It was too shallow, so I had to keep trying. I eventually got there, and I was like, okay, now I should probably not do this until I have a paraglider.
Yeah, makes sense.
So my
Yup.
touching the ground was quite the experience. Just starting out the game leaves an impression on you, and as well as yourself on the ground, as I found out.
That's good. And I think we established before the recording started, you're at 85 hours, right?
More or less, according to Nintendo's magic clock meter, whatever they like to measure that as.
Now, for
But
the
yeah,
people
about
listening,
85 or so.
That is 8 days, right? Or 9?
That is, it hasn't even been out that many. Oh, okay, yeah, you mean
'Cause
like
it's,
in
like,
hours?
Friday? Well, no, I'm talking about like from release, right?
From release,
We're
yeah.
about 8 days out of actual. Well,
Yeah.
technically
Like 8 and a
8
half.
days, 9 if you count the digital launch.
Okay. So between 8 and 9
Mhm.
days, it's about 10 hours a day. Not bad. Not bad. I mean,
Not bad. I feel like
that's
I need.
still a lot. But like,
How does one stop playing Tears of the Kingdom? Is the real
It's hard.
question.
That's
How
true.
many hours
It
is
is very hard. I have to be playing it like off the TV or whatever, and just the battery die. That's how I end up.
I feel like it's one of those games that you literally play while you sleep. You can't.
It's the Tetris effect all over
I
again.
hear the game over music in my sleep now, and it's a problem.
I
70,
walk up to my
70, 80
microwave and
hours-
Lullaby.
smack it to get it to start cooking my
mention
food
this-
now.
I'll mention this when I go, but like 70 to 80 hours in any game in general is already a lot. We're getting into like the Final Fantasies of RPGs at that point.
Oh,
And the
that's true,
fact that in a Zelda game is that, but more. I'll go into that detail in a little bit once I go in when I start talking about it.
Mhm.
But it's kind of insane.
I mean, you can
Mhm.
take it from now if you want, if no one else is.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. go for it.
Like so it's weird because like I've also as part of ZU we've been prepping for this for years.
Yeah.
Like we've had like emergency procedures in place, and like the last couple weeks we've been kind of getting ready for it to come out so we can work on stuff.
Yeah.
Age of
and-
Calamity was like our dress rehearsal.
It was.
Yeah.
And truly. And we came in with a better plan. But it was also weird because when you go from Skyward Sword to Breath of the Wild, that change is dramatic. This, on paper, from what we saw, did not seem nearly as big of a jump. I did not realize going into this just how insane that was. But I mean, Daniel makes great points too. There is a pre-Breath of the Wild era of gaming, and then there's a post-Breath of the Wild era of gaming, where you see where studios pulled from to create stuff. Like the opening title of Breath of the Wild, where you see the horizon. I feel like that's what inspired Ghost of Tsushima and that opening sequence, which
Mm.
it's
I don't think I
a
played that
beautiful opening sequence that has the same kind of caliber and emotion for me for that.
yet.
But you see also Horizon Forbidden West has a very Breath of the Wild feel. And a lot of stuff has got influenced by Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom, what's wild to me is just how big it is. Breath of the Wild was already bigger than Skyrim.
Which is what was like crazy about Breath of the Wild when it came out.
Yeah, it was
So-
bigger than Skyrim.
scope.
And Tears of the Kingdom is bigger than Breath of the Wild. And oh my god, it feels like it. It's so big that like I think I have the lowest amount of playtime out of everyone here. I'm not in that much because and I have to stop because I do a lot of other things outside of like this like Zelda work. So
we get
I
it.
don't
You have a
nearly-
I
life.
have a life outside of this. Is what you're
I
saying?
don't have a choice.
You have a life by force.
unlike some of us.
I have a life.
Yeah, the rest
against
of us
my
are
will.
locked in our rooms.
Yeah.
forced
I have a life
to
against
do
my
nothing
will
but Zelda.
because I have to leave and do work at some point.
Yeah.
But like I haven't done that much, and I am already just like overwhelmed of like it's so much stuff.
Mhm.
You can get lost instantly doing everything, and I do feel like it has expanded a lot on everything. I don't feel like the title card intro this time hit nearly as deep, but all the new stuff, it feels like it's right. Like it feels like Breath of the Wild was a tech demo to a much larger game, and the fact that all of this fits on the Switch is kind of amazing.
I don't even know what the
16
file size of this
gigabytes.
game is, but it's
18 gigs.
It's like 18 gigs.
18
yeah.
gigabytes. That's what
It
it was.
is the
What the-
largest Switch game.
Is it? I thought it was only 16.3.
I remember hearing sources that it's 18 gigs. I mean, I could pull up my Switch and check actually.
I've seen both numbers.
Either
I can't
way-
remember what the difference
Yeah, I
Either
think
was.
way,
which
it's
one.
under 20, which is impressive.
Yeah.
right? So like I
Looking at you, Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Games and
play games on other
PS5 that take
platforms.
100 gigabytes.
Everything about
Yeah.
this game is
Jedi
technically
Fall-
impressive.
Jedi Survivor is like 160. Also bad.
160.
Yeah, EA,
I'm never
EA,
getting
please,
that.
EA, please optimize your games better.
What the?
I do wonder what the file
Unbelievable.
size would be, though, if it were optimized as a 4K game instead of a
It would be
900p game.
160. Manage software.
mean,
Let's.
Sure, you could.
No,
like,
16.3. No, you're right.
Okay.
You're right, Jess.
I thought it was
Yeah,
16.
16.3 gigabytes.
I thought it was more
Wow.
for some reason.
And you've got it down to like the decimal. That's cool.
I know my file sizes. Well, we had to.
Guess what?
So we had to, in order to release the Tears of the Kingdom update for Zelda maps, which is like my current main project at Zelda Universe is making Zelda maps, we launched in 2017 as a huge interactive Breath of the Wild map, which, you know, we were the first team to data mine Breath of the Wild and get all the map data and put it into a map. And so through doing this, I've become pretty intimately familiar with all the game's structure and
Yes,
files
the
and
numbers, and
that means the file size.
yeah, that makes sense.
And if you haven't checked out Zelda Maps, by the way, you should do it because it's gotten very, very well detailed. And a lot of new features have been coming through.
Mhm.
We've been relentlessly updating it for Tears of the Kingdom. There's actual paths for the Koroks now. So like when you follow, if you follow like a Korok through like flowers and you need to chase it, we have the paths there outlined on the map.
That is so
Or for the
cool.
carry Korok quests where you have to have a Korok meet their friend, we now show the two linked together so that
Yeah.
you can see where you need to take the Korok.
That
Yeah,
is-
we've been pushing so many updates to this.
I've heard about it because I've been streaming a lot for the past week, and people have just been telling me like, I use Zelda maps for like all of my routing or whatever I use it for.
awesome.
So
Yeah,
that's cool.
it's
I've
really
heard
great.
trickle down of this new project. Not the first I've
And
heard
I
of it.
literally use it to track my Koroks. So
I
Yeah.
should start doing that, to be honest.
I'll probably
I've been
do
really
that
lazy.
when I get closer to the completion stage of my playthrough. So
it's
very, very
super,
excited.
especially if you have when you do, make sure to register an account because then it saves and like you can just log into another browser or whatever, and all your completed like Koroks
shoot, you can,
will
like,
still be
keep it
there.
as a
Yeah,
checklist.
you can save it to an account. You can save your
Oh.
completed stuff to an
Oh,
account.
nice.
You are
It's
so
different from your
smart. No
CU
wonder
account
you're
as
the
well.
lead.
Yeah.
Gotta have those features.
Hey, Jess,
Gotta
you go.
build those
You're already
products.
talking.
Yeah, I can go next.
Yeah.
So, I do feel like there's a lot that, has already been said just everywhere about how this game is. It's bigger, it's better, but I think, what a lot of people don't talk about is why is it better and different and an improvement? And also, why is it not and never was going to be like $70 DLC like a lot of people were positing before it came out, which I don't know how any actual, and maybe it's these people who like aren't really like don't know a lot about Zelda or don't know a lot about Nintendo's track record, who are like see the visuals and they're like, hey, is this going to be overly similar? But to me, like the thing that makes this not the same game at all is that they changed all the rules. So,
Yeah.
like, a lot of the stuff you did in Breath of the Wild, you can't do in Tears of the Kingdom, and obviously vice versa. And that means that the way that you played just doesn't, like, the way you play both games is completely different. And I do think that the gameplay of Tears of the Kingdom is way better than the gameplay. It makes Breath of the Wild feel restrictive, which is what makes it feel like a tech demo, and that's what I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
And I do feel like the strides that this made in story, in improving the open world format, like there were a lot of, I think, really valid criticisms of Breath of the Wild and how they took their first stab at this. And, despite it being literally industry defining and inspiring, hundreds of games and artists, there were also some pretty obvious flaws. And I think, it's really exciting to see the Zelda team iterating this quickly. Like, I think they proved with Breath of the Wild that they're willing to throw out conventions, and with this, they're just kind of also proving that they've made that part of their core game design philosophy, is that no convention is sacred, but also any convention could return if it's appropriate. Like, they're just not taking anything like as gospel of the Zelda series anymore. They're doing what feels right to make the best game. And, that's what Tears of the Kingdom feels like, is them feeling like they have the freedom and the confidence to make the choices about the game that they want and not feel like they have to make a certain type of Zelda game.
And
that answer. Yeah. That's a really good perspective on it too.
That defines, I think, a lot of the personality of the Switch era of these games, is that it's just so different from what a lot of Zelda fans are used to, and Breath of the Wild kind of brought that point to the forefront of discussion for some fans, not me. I was totally open to the change. And then kind of continuing on with the Tears of the Kingdom discussion, I feel like some people are just kind of concerned of like, does this mean XYZ, or like this thing that I liked in the older Zelda game is just like blah, blah, blah. But I think what you're saying is right. And, if there's an idea in Zelda's past that fits what they want to make moving forward, then it comes back. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. I think that's just kind of how it is for the Zelda team. I mean, we never will truly know because they're very, very secretive.
Enemies cycle back and forth from the entire franchise.
Yeah.
Like, no enemies are in every single... Like, very few enemies are constant in the entire franchise, aside from maybe 3 or 4. But, there are, like, enemies that maybe have been seen in the original that are back, that... like are like they cycle everything, and I completely agree, and I think it's becoming the what can we bring back and pull. But yeah, I completely agree. And funny how all the DLC talk went away after launch.
Because I don't think it was ever truly sincere.
Yeah,
you know what it really felt like to me? It really felt to me like that it was something that the press made because they needed something negative to talk about during the lengthy period of time that the game was in development. And then that's the lowest hanging fruit you could possibly come up with to make any sort of criticism about a game that you know nothing about other than what it looks like.
Yeah.
So
well, then there's also like those just annoying little 20-year-old dude bros who think that they're like all cool and mature for playing a game that's just multiple shades of brown and green. So then a Zelda game comes out and you're like, oh no, it's
color.
A real game.
Yeah.
What is this color?
No, I was gonna say I still see the comments and but those are coming from people who did not like Breath of the Wild to begin with. So there's a low chance they're gonna play Tears of the Kingdom. There's a low chance they're gonna like Tears of the Kingdom if they do play it,
Yeah.
And then they think they're cool for not liking it.
Yeah, which, okay, you don't like a game. There's a ton more out there. There's so many more games out there for you to enjoy. Go play those.
Just don't be a dick to people.
Yeah.
I will say it's funny watching the discourse for every major Nintendo release, now that I'm older, right? And I don't really I have a different perspective is basically what I was going to say. But watching from this past November, the Pokemon discourse moving over to Tears of the Kingdom, it's like a totally different crowd of people, which is like...
Well, nobody hates Pokemon more than Pokemon fans.
Exactly.
For
and it's
real,
like...
it's really frustrating.
Nobody hates Pokemon more than Game Freak.
Right, exactly. And like, it's just, if this discussion happened with Pokemon, you would be hearing about it for the next year. Like, there would be no chance for somebody to praise this game without it being just immediately shuttered by somebody calling it DLC and blah, 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 carbon copy. But that doesn't like, the game came out and then it's just speaking for itself, it feels like. It's just that good.
I think it is.
That you look stupid for even suggesting that it looks like DLC.
And honestly, I'm happy about that.
So am I. It lets me enjoy the game more.
Yeah.
And
Also,
then
another thing that
people feel that feel dumb for even trying to make the vitriol happen.
Exactly.
Another thing I also think that really helped is that basically, even though it's the same general geographic map, basically the entire map is unrecognizable. Like I've gone to most major locations and I actually like I keep thinking I'm insane for not remembering what this looked like or like remembering where I am.
My God. See,
because I'm like, am I really in this region?
I was like,
Yeah,
where am I?
I really thought like I had like dementia because I'm like here, you know, in like Rito area, and I'm like literally nothing looks the same. I have no idea where I am.
Yeah.
I can't follow any of the landmarks that I previously looked at in Breath of the Wild. The whole map is like all the terrain is different, even if everything's in the same location.
I mean, I couldn't do that in Breath of the Wild either, but I also had no sense of direction.
That's awesome.
Fair. Did they change how where the map, like the towers, when they unlock the map, it feels like they're just in different locations because nothing's unlocking in the same way it did, which I think is also disorienting me like hell. And I'm like, where? I don't know.
The regions are all the same shapes still, but all the towers are in new locations.
Wild.
I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah. They were all, well, I guess for story reasons, so.
Yeah.
All right, good to know.
We all said our thoughts. Amanda and Mary, you guys want to round us out here? I don't know
Sure.
who goes first, but
I don't really care who goes first.
Okay.
I'm talking, so I'll go ahead and go.
Yeah.
So back when the original Legend of Zelda came out, you were thrown into Hyrule Field. You're just alone, have fun, find what you need. And that was considered revolutionary for a type of game. And then, because it wasn't like a platformer, it wasn't just point A to point B, you kind of just had to explore. And then Ocarina of Time comes along. And again, this revolutionized gaming. This is, Link has the companion with him. This is introducing Z targeting. It's how we imagine pretty much all adventure games from that point forward. And then Breath of the Wild came along nearly 20 years later. And it's like, once again, this game revolutionized gaming by going back to what the original was, which was you're sent out to like a desolate area. You are by yourself. You don't have a companion. Find a weapon, go have fun and explore. And you'll show up at a dungeon. You might show up at a dungeon that you don't need to be at yet. You might end up at a major test of strength when you should only be at the beginner level test of strength. And then I was expecting, maybe we might get that happen again in another 20 years. I was not expecting it to be only 6 years from Breath of the Wild. I had no idea that, I just remember seeing the trailer for it for the very first time and just like, well, I'm sorry, we're getting a whole new game. Wow, this is amazing. And I love everything they have done with it so far. I haven't finished it yet, but I absolutely love it. It still gets that heart of Breath of the Wild, that still has that exploration that we all enjoy, but now it's a little more polished. So it's like what Breath of the Wild wanted to do, and now Breath of the Wild set it up for us. That made the foundation, and now we've got like this really cool story we can explore, because Breath of the Wild was all about figuring out what's happening around you. Now we know what all's going on. Now we need to figure out something that's just happened, and that's a little bit more pressing.
Yeah, in Breath of the Wild, it's kind of like everything happens off screen, and you're just kind of Link, like waking up, like, what happened? What's going on? Why is everyone sad?
It's one of those, you may be wondering how I got here.
Yeah, exactly. The classic.
That is essentially Breath of the Wild.
I want that as a sitcom now, and that sounds great.
Wow. Okay, Mary, what do you think?
So I was one of those people who it did not feel real to me. Even the Thursday before, I'm waiting for it to be 9 p.m. because I'm on the West Coast to play a digital copy early. It took me actually sitting on my couch, opening the game, seeing that first initial cutscene playing to be like, this is real. The year is 2023, and we have a brand new mainline Zelda game that's a direct sequel, which never happens in Zelda games
anymore.
Never, not like this.
Contract they get.
Never,
Not like
not a direct
this.
console sequel.
Yeah, like I mean, Majora's Mask, you can kind of argue is like a sequel-y sort of thing.
This
But
this is the
Still its
character.
own
Yeah, this is in the same world. Yeah.
yeah, this is like the same world, a lot of familiar settings that are now, as y'all were just saying, like you're having to refamiliarize yourself almost with them. So, but I also think Nintendo knew that they had some very, very big shoes to fill that they themselves created. Because if you also look at like game sequels as a whole, how many times can you say that like the sequel was as good or better than the first game? A recent one for me is Horizon Forbidden West. Horizon Zero Dawn was amazing. I loved Zero Dawn so much. It still is one of my favorite games. Forbidden West did not capture the same magic, though, in my opinion. So it just didn't quite live up to what I thought like that series could do. But with Tears of the Kingdom, it captured me immediately because I knew going into it that story was going to be a very big thing for me. And from what I've seen so far, like I'm hooked, I'm in. And then you have like all these new areas, all these new tools that Nintendo saw what fans have been doing the past 6 years, creating crazy challenges for themselves in Breath of the Wild. And they're like, here's some new toys for you to play with. Like, go have fun, create new memories, new adventures, do even crazier things in this game.
Commit
And
war
like,
crimes.
yeah, I think it's
thinking the same thing. Do all of these things, just the Koroks.
the poor Koroks, man.
They had it coming.
But it's just mind-boggling to me that they have succeeded so well at doing this incredible sequel. I'm like y'all were saying, like, how did they do this? How did they improve perfection?
It still doesn't feel real. Like
It doesn't.
Yeah.
I haven't
Honestly,
played it,
like-
I'm playing it, like, and it doesn't feel real. I'm like, I can't believe this is really happening.
The night it came out and I played it like at midnight and I was deliriously exhausted and I played the entire intro sequence and a lot of the Great Sky Island, and I honestly like woke up the next morning and I thought that I dreamt it because it was so nice. Like it was
Mary and I had conversations leading up to the release because we play a lot of games together online, and we're like, we're like X amount of days away from a huge Zelda game.
Yeah.
How? How did we get here?
Yeah.
And to jump off of her comment on Forbidden West, because we were talking a lot about Horizon because I played it after Mary did. Forbidden West tried to be Breath of the Wild, but didn't have the content to back it up, and not engaging enough to back it up. And that was a concern of people trying to emulate Breath of the Wild, but not understanding what made the formula work so well. And yeah, Nintendo just knows how to handle their own properties and knows what people want, which is war crimes against Koroks. They had it coming.
And also, can you is the world like interactable and destructible in Horizon?
No.
I feel like that's the
not
key.
the same way.
The key feature to me that makes Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom work so well is that like the main character is Hyrule itself, and it's fully interactive and destructible and alive. Like
one of the key things is that when you interact with things in the world, you kind of expect them to react a certain way, and those expectations often are met. Like, oh, you cut tree with sword enough times, falls down and causes log to happen. Like, not every game has such basic concepts like that. You hit a tree and there's nothing happens.
And then you chop the log and then it makes wood.
Yeah, you chop the log more and
very-
collect the wood. Everything kind of folds into each other
just makes
very
sense.
seamlessly.
Yeah.
very realistic.
Yeah.
Realism in my Zelda game?
It's just
What?
fun.
You want my son
Everyone
on
said they
fire?
wanted a
All of
realistic
sudden everything's on
Zelda.
fire.
Of course, I don't know. The last time I started a fire, I couldn't updraft from it, so I don't know about realism.
Yeah,
but,
honestly.
you know,
Honestly,
close
the
enough.
audacity.
You just
really.
didn't have the paraglider to do it, is all, Daniel. That's what it is.
God, that's what happened. I gotta go.
So
no one
silly.
questioned
so
that I
silly.
started a fire. We
No.
Yeah.
No,
okay.
I mean,
It's
you
all
play
fine.
Zelda.
It's simple.
Just going off over here for some reason.
Zelda tendencies.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that. You're breaking pots. We know what you're up to.
So my experience with Tears of the Kingdom has been very large. It's been a lot of playing this game. Like I said, I've been streaming it a lot for this past week. Each stream is like 10 plus hours long. I just can't stop playing. and then even off stream, I'll be playing in bed or something, and it's just good. Okay, I've talked about this thing, to other people for years, and there's this thing I feel like exists called the Breath of the Wild influence or the Breath of the Wild effect, where I've kind of just maybe other people have too, but I've just kind of noticed that everything wants to go open world ever since 2017. There's like the biggest one that comes to mind is Sonic, which I haven't played the game. Maybe it works.
It
Maybe it
looked
doesn't.
exactly like Breath of the Wild.
But,
I'll argue that happened earlier with Skyrim, but Breath of the
I
Wild
agree.
made it more.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild was the
Skyrim
one that
started-
I
everything
feel like
would be
Skyrim
like a
walks the Breath
Horizon
of the
shot.
Wild
You would hear,
to run
this is
with it.
giving Breath of the Wild vibes, and it was every single game was like that.
Everything with the
I remember,
grassy
like-
hill.
Yeah.
open world games had already caught on, and it was really that everyone was waiting for Nintendo's response.
Mhm.
Like I remember actually,
Yeah.
it was very similar to when Apple was working on the iPad. Everyone knew that Apple was working on the iPad, so a bunch of companies tried to one-up them and come out with tablets before Apple. And so every time one of these tablets came out, everyone was like, well, what's Apple going to do for their tablet? And then they did the iPad, and then every other tablet didn't matter. And that's
Yeah.
kind of the story I feel like with Zelda and open world games is everyone was like, this is clearly the next big trend in gaming is open world stuff. I really feel like maybe it kicked off around 2010. When did Skyrim come out? Was it 2010?
2011. It was right after Skyrim.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that's really when this kicked off, I think, with Skyrim. And then everyone was like, what's Nintendo's response going to be? And then they said it was going to be Zelda. And yeah, the rest
then
is
here we
history.
are.
And they also, the thing is Nintendo
'Cause-
wasn't going to do open world unless they had a reason to, and they were going to make it good. It wasn't just going to go, oh, let's do open world just for the sake of open world,
Yeah.
because everybody
Yeah.
is like,
I think they
waiting
literally
for
said that.
linearity.
Follow trends
Like,
because they're popular.
We're going to make it, we're going to follow the trend, but we're going to make it our own, and we aren't just going to do it just to be doing.
Mhm.
In a way, I actually respect that because they also because the development cycle takes so long, they have the opportunity to see what trends actually stick and what do not. Because open world's been trending for a while, but if there's a certain thing that does well for a while and then suddenly has a steep drop off for whatever inexplicable reason, they don't have to worry about conforming to that. So
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of listening that I think Nintendo does that I do respect.
Yeah, that reminds me of what I was going to say about Jess's point earlier, and then we'll continue on. But she mentioned how the Zelda team kind of just takes stuff from history as it makes sense, and whatever. That's just kind of how they operate. I think that's just how games should be designed in general. I don't really think you should be beholden to things like trends or what other people are doing. Just if you think it makes sense for your game, which I mean, I'm sure a lot of devs do, then just do it that way, But I feel like so many games nowadays just want to be the next thing instead of being a different thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did my thoughts?
I know
I'm
what
not
you
sure.
mean.
Okay.
No, yeah, 100%. Because
Yeah.
if you try to be the thing, you are going to be put in the same category as it, which means
And
you
it's
are now
disingenuous.
competing.
It's not like,
Yeah.
it's like your heart's not in it.
There you go. Yes,
and also
you made
that's
sense.
kind of like pre Breath of the Wild. That is where Zelda was for a really long time.
Mhm.
Was for over a decade. It felt like it had to be beholden to the design that they came up with for Ocarina of Time.
Skyward
And like
Sword,
all
that's what I think
adventure,
about.
all third-person adventure games, they were all just kind of like that same style. It was just a more polished version.
Mhm.
And I think it's important to note too that we're very spoiled as Zelda fans because most, if not all, Zelda games do not score under an 8. Generally, Zelda reviews very well. They are some of the best games. However, especially because I always actually look at Skyward Sword as a big reference because Skyward Sword is the original model at its, I'm going to say, clunkiest. I think Switch version of Skyward Sword HD does streamline things a little bit better, but it shows a lot of that formula's flaws to a zenith degree, which I think made the jump to Breath of the Wild a lot more drastic we're going fully in the opposite direction here.
Yeah.
Here's the formula. Yeet. All right, let's go. What's all that? Don't eat it. We're going this way now.
Mhm.
And I think it was something that they needed.
I think so too.
Yeah, there was a lot
And it's
of,
good, like, sorry.
No, you're
I
fine.
don't know, just there was a lot of like companies that we were mentioning earlier. They don't. A lot of companies, they tend to copy, but they don't iterate enough on their own perspective of how they can do this in their own way to make it their own thing. And that's pretty much what Breath of the Wild eventually became. Because yeah, I mean, you can see the as you mentioned, Lex, the starting blocks of what Breath of the Wild was going to become with Skyward Sword. You have these starting ideas of big open areas to explore. They ended up not being as, explorable or connected as you would probably want them to be. But even now, they're still iterating on that because now we're back to exploring the skies, and they've taken that into a whole new direction as well. And they keep on building on what they have. And I think that's what Nintendo's really just fearless as far as taking their ideas and going with it, and just not afraid to expand them more. And as mentioned, just keep on iterating on something that just works and just keep going from there.
Yep. I was.
And I think like I was definitely like nervous, not that Tears of the Kingdom would be DLC, but that it would not that it would feel too beholden to the formula that Breath of the Wild created. And in many ways it is, but I think they are throwing out more than what they have thrown out before between Zelda games, like between like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. I mean, basically nothing was thrown out. Between Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, they threw a lot out, but kind of went the wrong way. But like between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they're really replacing, I think, major sections with new and fresh ideas in a way that they haven't between Zelda releases, and that's what makes me like hopeful that this is like a new trend with them, that they don't feel that way anymore, that they feel they can make big radical changes.
So I was watching a Did You Know Gaming video recently about Breath of the Wild, and actually something that I remember just now was that part of the development process, from what I remember, is that they made the development in a way that everyone had the same level of power and influence over everyone's decisions. Of like, it wasn't just, the seniors have seniority and so they make the final calls. Everyone was able to have an equal vote, and they got to see what was working and what wasn't. And so it was a lot more fresh ideas came to the table as a result of that, which makes a lot of sense.
I might want to listen to that interview, or
It's
like,
Did You
read
Know
it.
Gaming?
Oh, you
Mhm.
should send me that later. I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, those are my thoughts on Zelda so far. Tears of the Kingdom, very, very positive. Does not feel like DLC, like some other people might have suggested before launch, but so very, very pleased. Now, I'm glad that we kind of brought up throughout this discussion kind of hints of like, the legacy and how it compares to Breath of the Wild and blah blah blah, because that kind of sets us up for our next point here, which is, where does Zelda go from here? Okay. This is a question that I've pondered ever since Breath of the Wild, because that obviously was just a radical change in a totally different direction at that time. So I'm kind of curious, Mary, where do you think Zelda goes from Tears of the Kingdom? Do you think they stay with the open world thing, or maybe do dungeons again, kind of like...
I had to
past?
really think about this, and I'm glad you gave us this question early.
Thank you for
And
sending me the advance.
what I ended up like kind of coming down to is, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we get two different formulas, kind of like how Metroid has a 2D and a 3D. We might see more linear, more traditional dungeons and like 2D Zeldas going forward. And then the 3D Zeldas kind of keep with the open world, the less linear approach to it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what we saw. I feel like they're going to have to keep some form of openness, though, just because there's so many new Zelda fans because of Breath of the Wild. Like, I have like my friends' children, I have nieces, nephews, younger cousins where Breath of the Wild was their first Zelda. So that's now their standard for a Zelda game. And it's been a very, very popular, very, very successful game. But then you also have to think about the fans like us who grew up playing Zelda, who are, more traditional with what our first Zelda games were. And how do you like please both sides of the fan base in a way.
I like that idea. Truth be told, I'm not really super experienced with the 2D Zelda games, so I don't really have an opinion on those, but I do like the idea of having like the split, but also running in parity with each other. I guess Metroid does kind of do that, right?
Yeah, Metroid has a straight timeline. Metroid does not do split, funky timelines like Zelda does, but they do feel very different from each other. They're both pretty linear in a way, but people, I think, who've played 2D Metroid, people who've played 3D Metroid can both be like, these they just feel very different from each other. And like the events that happen in the Metroid Prime trilogy are a different set of events that are happening in like the 2D Metroid games.
Yeah. So you're saying keep the open world moving forward with 3D Zelda Frontiers, and then just kind of like go back to, well, I guess not go back, but continue with the dungeony, sort of approach with 2D. Okay.
Yeah, because and I want to see more 2D Zelda. I love 2D Zelda games as well. So, and not everything has to be open world, as we were just discussing. Like, otherwise it just starts to feel like these big, what's the word? They're big, but they're empty. You don't feel the life of them,
Yeah.
So,
Daniel, what do you think about that? What does Baby Zelda think?
Well, I think
I like how she's been there the whole time.
just hanging out now. Where do I think Zelda's going at this point?
He's sitting there.
Where does it go from here?
Man, there's with what we've experienced with Tears of the Kingdom so far. We've played the most, Allie, and we haven't even finished. Like, we've done so many hours, and we're not even done. But trying to think where it would go from here. It'd be interesting to see someone else take a crack at Zelda. Not go forward with the open world quite yet, but kind of go off to the side.
Like
something that can kind of
Zelda again,
like a Capcom, basically.
You can have Capcom work on Zelda because the Oracle games, the Minish Cap, fantastic games. I love Minish Cap so much.
Minish Cap's a banger. It's my favorite 2D Zelda.
One of the most beautiful.
Hot boy Daddy. I'm just saying.
Some of the most beautiful sprite art, just contextualizing big and small. This is a Tears of the Kingdom discussion. Sorry, I'm a gush about Minish Cap if you don't stop me. But if we have, what if we had a Western developer work on a Zelda title? Like, what happened to Project X in Retro Studios' Lost Project when they were going to make a Zelda game that was kind of based on Sheik instead, or focusing on the last Sheikah?
I don't think I knew that was happening.
Yeah,
that was an idea.
Valley of the Flood. That was a cool.
Do you think because they started to do a little bit more because they gave Zelda to the Crypt of the Necrodancer developers to make Cadence?
Well, some of the stuff that Retro Studios was going to do, like with the Sheik games, it got implemented into later games.
Yeah, kind of like it was essentially supposed to be the origin of the Master Sword. That was what the original idea and concept was going to be, but then Skyward Sword kind of covered that. So there's a lot of potential to just have that start somewhere else and just be its own thing on the side. And I can imagine it being a bit more like open world as well. You can explore this other version of Hyrule, or you could make it more traditional. Like, there's just a lot there, but the concept of that sounds very interesting, and I would love to see a studio with the pedigree of like Retro Studios or just anyone, another company besides Nintendo, with obviously overseeing a bit, see what potential they can have from there. And I mean, if Retro wasn't working on Metroid Prime for the last 20 years, then then
it's been 84 years.
The saga that never ends.
Oh boy, yeah.
Hey, at least not F-Zero.
This is the year, right, guys? This is the year.
I'm hanging on that because I love. Because as we mentioned earlier, with 2D and 3D Metroid, they're very different, but they're obviously borrowing the same conventions from each other. The same thing that Zelda does. And to see what direction that can go with another studio, I would just love to see that. And it's the same thing with 2D Zelda. I hope 2D Zelda isn't just gone forever. At the very least, can you remake the Oracle games, Grezzo? Can you make those as well? I want to see those come back.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, or at least on Switch Online. But yeah, I'm hoping to see a nice mix of what we have so far. And if Nintendo wants to go forward with more open world in the future, I don't know what in the world we could see happen beyond Tears of the Kingdom. But I know they'll put their all into it.
I say this all the time on streams and stuff, but Never underestimate the Zelda team. I've learned that lesson very, very well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's cool. I forgot Capcom did some of the past Zelda games.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jess, what does Mango think? Where does Zelda go?
Oh my
in
gosh,
Mango's
Mango.
opinion?
This is my cat, Mango, by the way. Let's meet. Mango's in a cone right now. You may
no.
have seen this. He hurt his
Stretching.
ear. He hurt his little ear. Oh, Mango. Okay, I'll let you go down.
Like, Mom,
So
stop.
He
cute.
hurt his little ear, but he is going to be fine. What Mango thinks is that, I think at first glance, it can seem like there is not a lot of ways to go after a game as massive as Tears of the Kingdom. But I feel like, I'm about like maybe halfway through. I obviously won't say anything, but I feel like there are a few things that they could do. They could, make a whole new world is I think the next. I don't think they can really return to this version of Hyrule again. I think they need a new either Hyrule or somewhere else. I think a lot of Tears of the Kingdom draws inspiration from other games in the series and remixes it into a kind of Breath of the Wild style of thing. And I think there are so many untapped concepts from the history of the Zelda franchise that can be pulled and Breath of the Wildized for new and interesting world mechanics. Like a great example of this is like Oracle of Seasons, being able to change the seasons of, the map that you're on and having that mean something. Breath of the Wild's world and Tears of the Kingdom by extension doesn't have a concept of seasons or anything like that. So that would be a whole new level of interactivity into the world that would definitely change the gameplay a whole lot. If you can imagine almost every section of the map having like 4 different conceivable configurations, or maybe even different seasons depending on like lower. Like there's so much more you can do to make the world more realistic and explorable. And on top of that, I still feel, again, without saying anything, I still feel like there are some issues in the narrative structure and delivery of the story that they want to tell. The story is vastly improved, but it still is delivered in a very, very similar way. And I think it suffers from the same issues that it did in Breath of the Wild. But I also think that there isn't a particular reason that it needs to. I think that they can have, say, like this kind of combination of open world, go wherever you want, but also have these linear story segments that, when you get to those locations, currently, like they do play out, but I think they can go much further with these individual storylines, especially with making them feel more related to one another. And finding other ways to deliver the story in a more chronological way where you feel like you have direct impact over what's going on and that you are taking part in the story. I feel like those are just 2 huge ways, like bigger, more interactive map with a more interesting, diverse set of ways to interact with that map, because with this new format of Zelda, the Hyrule is the main character. So we've got to make a new character for Hyrule.
Yeah. Like downtown Chicago. I don't know. I'm just spitballing it.
Like that's exactly it. Like, what if they did that? What if it was GTA?
Yeah, Link stumbles drunk into the
Gosh.
bar. I'll have another.
Hey, yo,
Another
get
one
outta
more
here.
Give me another one.
We don't take
Give me that Chet over Manny.
Hey, fucking here.
There you go. They should invite me to these board meetings. Yeah, no, I think that makes
Wild.
perfect sense. To be honest, I feel like some of that is a little bit of a result of the game being designed the way it is. And in my mind, I'm not a game developer. I'm stupid. I could be solvable. I don't know. But in my mind, I don't know if there's a way that you can work it to where it's the way that, I don't want to say you want, but like is more chronological. I get what you're saying, and I'm trying to figure out what the solution would be, and I just can't, just because it feels like a result of the game design the game that they're designing. So
And there's a very clever, they improved this a lot in Tears of the Kingdom in terms of usability of accessing the story in a more chronological way. And the way that they did it is very clever. And one day I will be able to talk about that.
We'll have you on for the spoiler cast next month. There we go. And then we can talk about it then. Okay. Well, what about you, person who hasn't gone yet?
Who? I think there's a couple.
Yeah, there's a couple. I don't know.
I know it's me, and who else?
I think it's both. I think it's both of us.
Yeah, it's both of you.
Okay.
You go first.
All right. So where do we go from here? Well, first of all, I never thought we'd even be here. Never
That's
imagined
true.
this
That's true.
because the puzzles that are in Tears of the Kingdom with the new mechanics, you have to think in a way that I've never had to think in a Zelda game before, and really not really a way that I've had to ever solve puzzles. So
You need
you're
a
having to
master's
think
degree from Seven
completely
Days.
differently, especially like
needed-
with the ascend ability and the putting things together. You know,
I love that
Dude.
Ascend was a cheat code, like a developer cheat code for Breath of the Wild that became a
Honestly,
mechanic.
I do
neat.
kind of love that.
I love that. But as far as where we go from here, I would like to see, focus on the side characters. I think that'd be neat to have like some spinoffs. I still want a Gerudo dating sim. I
my
think
God.
that would be so much fun.
Where do I put my money?
Where you
Take
start
it.
off, you're a Gerudo in Gerudo Town. You've been taking the classes, and you're ready to go out to Hyrule and meet a nice Vo. The boys are the Vos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Vo,
Yeah.
a nice Vo.
This doesn't
Need a
exist.
nice
There's not a
show.
fan game already.
Yeah,
Well,
Only
right.
Badass
It
Hero
needs to
hasn't
make
played
To the
this.
people who made Hooked on You, please.
I want a Gerudo dating sim.
This is all
but
the grand
otherwise,
scheme to
I
decide on.
could see it still doing like the Metroid thing, like Mary was saying, how there would be the 2D traditional dungeon crawlers, because there is a lot of demand for that, and it is fun to go back to that. Whereas the 3D can be a bit more experimental, and so far they've experimented very well with Tears of the Kingdom.
I think so too. Now let me ask you this. This is something that I feel like everyone is just dying to know. In this scenario where you are the Gerudo going to go find a suitable, I don't want to say mate, but like person, right? I already
Yeah.
said it. Who cares? Suitable mate. Who are you going for, Amanda, in that playthrough of yours? All right.
It's all a
one
grand
right here.
scheme.
All right.
It's all the grand scheme to get Lee's back decided.
It's all the grand scheme
Yeah.
for Amanda to date Sidon.
Yep.
I support it.
I don't want to spoil anything from Tears of the Kingdom, but
Yeah.
I'm taking them.
All right. Okay.
And claimed.
And you know what? We
scene.
love that for you.
Whatever. As long as I can have Kura, so
Listen, I got a
God.
short list.
That's some
Y'all
steep
can take 'em, I got
competition
others.
right there.
Gonna be some
I've
fights
seen
for
so many people just going so bananas for that character, but
I can
digress.
fight.
You can.
yeah,
Amanda's
that's
got
true.
luck,
Amanda
though.
takes karate. Taekwondo.
Amanda will actually beat your ass.
I am so glad I'm on your good side.
legitimately.
Got a roundhouse kick waiting to come out. Lex, take us
for
from here.
real. I'm gonna go. Mary started the thing, and I'm actually gonna side with Mary 100% on this one.
I
So
knew
like,
you were.
listen.
She
That's
said
who we
Metroid, and I was
are.
like, this is like, I know it.
Listen,
you're thinking
like
the same thing.
we're the people that are. No, like I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm glad that you posted the questions in chat because it's like, I really think the where Zelda went is the best possible place it could have gone. However, I will always have a soft spot for A Link to the Past, for Ocarina of Time, for all of that. They are also very important games in history of like the industry as well. Not every game translated to 3D well. Ocarina was a very big point in that, in terms of that jump to 3D. Those are games that should still be made and should still be put out for people to play. And because I've always had this conversation, especially after Breath of the Wild, of, well, what's your first Zelda game? Because going from Breath of the Wild and then going backward can be rough.
Yeah,
But going from
definitely.
traditional to Breath of the Wild, it's rough, but you understand where you came from to see where you go.
Mhm.
And
I would not
I
recommend going backwards and doing the N64 version of Ocarina of Time if you're going to
If
go
you're gonna
back
do
to
any-
the 3DS.
if you're going to do a version, and that's I'm about to get to that rant. Believe me, and I'm gonna. But I like the idea of having and I don't necessarily think 2D to 3D. Have just a Breath of the Wild style formula, and then have your standard. Have your Ocarina of Time or like Link's Awakening style, and then have your Breath of the Wild like main. And if your main line becomes the Breath of the Wild style, and every other thing is a side game, bleh. Rude, I had to sneeze while I was talking. Cut that out.
No.
What, my sneeze dabs? Thanks.
God.
Yeah, keep that in.
Yeah. We'll just,
No, but like if you have, because they kind of already do, right? Because we've gotten in the lead up to Tears of the Kingdom, we had 2 traditional style, which was the remake of Link's Awakening and Skyward Sword HD.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with them keeping that. They've been putting some of that stuff back on Switch Online. I'm still waiting for Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD, Nintendo, and
Never
also
happening.
Next console.
so am I.
and then also, can we please,
my God.
Grezzo,
Grezzo.
Ocarina and Majora's Mask remakes on Switch.
Hey,
Please.
that's a good
That'd be
idea.
great.
I wonder if
I
they'll
would
ever
say-
just add 3DS.
I'd actually, honestly, I'd much rather them do a full-on remake because I want to see them add all of the new stuff that you can do with the traditional, like the right stick and all that kind of stuff, and also give us an ability to also revert some of the gameplay for N64 because the way you change Majora's Mask kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Swing.
Okay.
But no, yeah, I think both should still exist super well, and I think Mary's analogy of like the separate time, like the separate things, I think works super well for Zelda. But I also do want to see them try with other developers, and I mean I know Retro is still Nintendo; they're a second party studio, but let's see someone. I think they're too family friendly to go to a dating sim level of like Hooked on You.
that'd be so
Or
cool.
anything like
Stardew
that.
Valley level though.
Yeah, they could.
Amanda wants to
do
make this
wholesome
happen.
dating.
Oh, kiss
I
for your
think
own Lon Ranch.
I think Nintendo has started to be a little bit more lenient in letting companies have a go at their major IPs. They're a lot more protective this time, but we're seeing it happen again. And I do want to see them try more things, especially with other Western developers that could take a shot at it. Because in any case, it'd be more accessible than anything else Nintendo makes.
What other examples are there besides Crypt of the Necrodancer?
Not a lot.
Mario
Whoa.
movie.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up Mario movie. Like, I mean,
That
Nintendo
was
like
a huge
heavily,
turning point.
yeah, and
Yeah.
like obviously Nintendo
yeah.
heavily supervised it, but they let Illumination do the animating, and Illumination did do a very beautiful job. But Nintendo's still very much involved with it. But I think it was a huge step.
And I think the
Because
success
originally
of-
Mario was going to be in Wreck-It Ralph, but Nintendo was like, no, the part's not big enough. And so they were like, all right, well, we're just going to ride him out
You get
because this
Bowser.
is not the Mario movie.
Bowser was still in it though.
Bowser was
Bowser.
in it, but if
Bowser.
Mario was going to be in it, they were going to have to make him be like a main character.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think the overall success of Mario as a movie, because I believe it like long past into the first weekend to be the most successful movie. It's on its way to take out an Avatar, I think. Maybe.
It's past a billion.
Something about $1 billion or something.
And I think that is something that Nintendo immediately went, oh, this could be, I do feel like they're starting to loosen up because especially after the 90s, they clamped down very hard on everything is in-house. We're not letting anyone else touch it. And I think we're finally starting to see them break.
I think so too.
Which is great because there are a lot of other franchises that I would like them to give to people to make.
I think
Give us-
I think there should be a Zelda movie, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
actually,
Well,
like,
Zach cast in it.
if that's not, beyond just the games and the different styles of games, I do think the next frontier for Zelda is maybe, if something that maybe the answer to my personal desire for a more linear story is to have the most linear story of all and just
movie.
give me a movie.
See, here's my
And,
concern with
that would be
that.
I want an
Here's my concern
anime.
with that.
Give me an
I
anime.
feel like that's actually. I feel like if you're going to do a movie, it needs to be in the right style, and I feel like anime style is the best way to do it. I do not want an Illumination touching it. I think it needs to be
Sean.
a 2D. It truly, I feel like, would only work in a
Like a Ghibli Also, I feel like
Just the fact that
it needs to be like this. This would be the most hype thing in the world to me, is if the Zelda movie were its own. Like they took a concept of a story that they were going to make for a game, and they didn't make a game. They made a movie instead. So they're never like, it's not an adaptation of a game. It's its own original Zelda story with its own Link, with its own whole world and story that was just designed to be a movie instead of a game.
And a standalone. I like that. As long as Matt Mercer is Ganondorf again, I'm in.
Okay, but and here I am with my Twilight Princess manga agenda. It's right there.
Oh, you know what? Actually, Twilight Princess would work super duper well as the movie.
Well, and like what Jess was saying, like it takes the Twilight Princess story and it just expands on it so much more in different ways than the game did. So I think it would kind of be a good middle ground of here's an existing story, here's something new, here's an existing story with a bunch of new events that you didn't actually play in the video game, but now it's an anime and it's a beautiful manga. The art style is like so gorgeous.
Now that I think about it, all the Akira Hiwakawa manga for all the games, not just Twilight Princess, but Twilight Princess has got the most amount of volumes of it. All of them expand upon it. There's a lot you can work with.
Yeah, and Ocarina of Time, Link has to go all yeller on Volvasia.
Oop.
I mean,
I love the term.
Don't we?
Oh yeah, I think another important point about the movie is the movie should also be canon. Whatever story they make, I think it needs to be canon.
Well, considering there's like 1,000-year time skips between some of the games,
they can fit it somewhere. They'll fit it somewhere.
I mean, we know the Zelda timeline. There's like 4.
That's
like
true.
we've all seen Brian David Gilbert's Unraveled about it. There's
we've done a panel or two about it.
Exactly.
I will say,
you could so easily see a Zelda movie because Breath of the Wild is essentially a Studio Ghibli movie itself. It's Princess Mononoke in so many forms of it. He's even got an Ashitaka arm now in the Tears of the Kingdom. There's so many parallels between that. And if you've ever seen that fan-made trailer that looks like that makes look like a Ghibli movie,
beautiful.
it's like give me
gorgeous.
that whole thing for an hour and a half, and I will be sitting happy. And it's just waiting to happen. But hopefully soon.
I think this is more likely than if you were to ask me this question like 4 years ago, simply because, and we talked about this at the PAX East panel. The establishment of Nintendo Pictures is like their studio, like their movie studio.
Yeah.
Which
They outright said they're working on their other franchises.
Yeah, which tells me that they're committed to the idea of making movies for their franchises that exist. And
I
Zelda
think
is the next thing in my mind in terms
But
of
I'm
popularity.
also happy
beyond
that
Mario.
they're going to be doing it on in-house, which means they have full control and there's nothing else like no one else can do anything about it.
To go on to Jess's point, you could tell stories about any amount of characters in the Zelda universe with a movie like this, and you want to know what story. Now that I think about it, we could work this in with Amanda's idea. We could have a young Gerudo from Gerudo Town named Amanda who goes to Hyrule, marries Prince Sidon, and then they live happily ever after.
Finally, the fanfic we need.
This is all coming full circle.
The Hyrule rom-com we deserve.
Write this down.
An important thing to kind of change gears a little bit because you don't have it in your thing, but I need to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
As long as all these characters remain hot as hell, I'm in.
That is very important.
Character design.
Like it's like Resident Evil now, where I'm like, how do they have time to look this beautiful? The world is like dead.
I don't know. You all saw what they did to Mario's butt in the movie, so
Oh, true.
We give and take.
it's gonna be.
Look,
We might be signing up for tragedy here.
there are multiple characters in Tears of the Kingdom that I had to text Mary and go, oh no. And that was before, and that was and that was not even including Ganondorf.
All of a sudden, I just get
I think this is
That was the death knell.
this is totally the mission.
Literally.
This is truly.
They brought all the fan art to life.
I know.
And it's weird for me with Ganondorf because, like, now that we have confirmation that's Matt Mercer, I've met Matt Mercer. I'm a huge fan of Critical Role, and he's a giant part of like my D&D kind of transition. And it was super exciting to see him as Ganondorf. At the same time, Ganondorf is hot in this, and I'm like,
Right.
I'm
One
used
of
to
hers.
him voicing
However-
like anime husbands, so I'm fine
does.
with it.
All right.
okay, well,
He's great.
You know, I think this is propaganda enough, Lex. All right, I would like an invite to the Thirst channel in the Slack.
yeah,
Okay, but just
The true mission of the
Oh,
Zelda Universe Thirst team is to make sure that the characters in the movie are hot.
they better be.
Yeah.
And when they are, you can thank us.
Yeah, you're welcome, internet.
You're
Jeez.
welcome.
Yeah, internet.
Oh my god. This notification like instantly on my phone. What is this called?
Oh, it was made during
You
this.
actually made this.
Is that
Listen,
That
we
is
can
so
have an invite.
here,
Um,
Alex.
I can't confirm. I don't have an invite.
All right, I guess I have an invite to the Thirst
Well,
channel
hey, you
now.
want to
Oh,
join
yeah.
the universe? We'll give you an invite.
Oh heck yeah.
I will.
So
I
it
don't
starts.
know
It's
how-
real.
I don't know how deep into spoiler territory this character is. I need to bleep this out,
It's real.
Alec. But
Oh, has everyone
Wow.
here met this person?
Mary
game?
just added
it's from the very
Elias.
beginning.
Yeah, I mean, we see
Oh.
this person in the
In the
trailer.
trailers.
Oh,
don't
he
know
was
his
in the
name
trailer.
until we start
Hackney
playing.
confirmed that he's voicing this character.
Which I love.
I
knew
met
it was this
him,
man.
But I
All the
met
fandom
him
makes me
and
so happy.
automatically
Yes.
went,
I love-
oh no, I'm
Oh,
into this.
no.
Uh-oh.
I love that we have huge Zelda fans like Chris Hackney and Matt Mercer doing roles
Yes.
in this game. Like Matt Mercer was even Ganondorf in that one
In There Will
brawl
Be Brawl,
thingy.
you know, yeah.
Movie, yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
Critical
Full
Role's
circle.
Critical Role's going to be doing
Yeah.
Ooh, did his
Uh,
Ganondorf sound? Sorry.
yeah, he's doing, cause actually Nintendo for the very first time this week, as we're recording this, which is May 20th, Critical Role got sponsored by Nintendo.
Oh yeah, I
Tears
saw
of the
that.
Nice,
which is
yeah.
interesting. And I think because not just because Matt's a talented voiceover, but also because he's the chief creative officer at one of the biggest entertainment RPG companies out there, with how much money Critical Role has rolled in, with multiple animated series in the works and multiple things under the Critical Role umbrella. Seeing Nintendo starting to open the door with them is kind of interesting, which means we might get some extra like game one shots, like a Fire Emblem one shot, which would be kind of neat.
That would
But
be
also,
nice, especially for Daniel.
Makes sense.
They're sponsoring and Mary. Let's be clear.
Oh, that's
Um,
true. Yeah. That's true.
Fire.
Well, Mary will get to D&D by one way, Fire Emblem, and I know
Mhm.
that.
Crom. He'll be Crom until the end of time.
But this
Oh my
opens the
god.
door
Crom.
because we're doing a one shot as well.
Right.
They're sponsoring a full on one shot of. We now have people who maybe were not going to get into Zelda before now getting into Zelda as well. I think it's
True.
opened a lot more doors because they're now going to be leveraging a little bit of these people's major audiences, especially Matt Mercer,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
is like, super exciting as both a fan of Critical Role and a fan of him and Zelda.
That's cool. I have to look at my phone every time I want to look at my notes. So, right. We all talked pretty extensively today about Tears of the Kingdom. Very, very positive so far. I'm not really sure if anybody's surprised at that fact, but been really, really enjoying my time with this game. What I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I do is the building aspect. And this is going to be our last segment before we sign off for the day, but I want to go around the table. I'm going to go ahead and lead us off here, but I'm going to go around the table and ask everyone, what's been your favorite triumph and or blunder with building in this game so far? Because as far as I know, none of us here have degrees in engineering or some sort
No.
of expert Lego builder or something. I'm certainly not, but I'll
Jess is
tell
gonna
you something.
show up. Jess is gonna pull her engineering degree. Oh, actually,
A little
Aha! Well, maybe you're having a great time with it. I don't know. No, so I'll tell you a story about one success and one failure. I'll start with the failure. Not really anything specific that you need to know other than the fact that there was this gap of water that I needed to get across, and it wasn't far enough for me to swim because I didn't have enough stamina. There was nothing to climb. It was just get through the water. Here's like some wooden planks and a couple wheels. So here I was thinking, like, does the game want me to build like this conveyor belt wheel system for a boat? Like, how does a boat even move, right? So here I was looking. This is on stream, by the way. I looked stupid, and so I was looking at
How
this
does
like
boat move?
Yeah, I was like, how does boat, like, because it didn't give me a sail and there's no wind where I was. So I was like, how do boat? So I'm sitting here looking at it.
How does one boat?
And I put like
I need that on a shirt.
I put 2 planks of wood together. And my genius idea, it gave me like 6 wheels, was to attach a wheel to the side of the boat and then attach another wheel to that wheel, not to the boat. So whenever I got onto the boat, to try to smack it to get it to power on. First of all, it was falling apart every time because it was made of wood. So Link would go and smack it, and then it would just break because it was wood. So I had to figure out a way to only smack the wheel, and then I did, and then I smacked the wheel, and this thing, it looked like it wanted to die. It doesn't have a soul. It's just a bunch of moving parts, but this boat was like
Kill me.
the most awful amalgamation of like wheels flapping in the water just randomly. Like it was not even in sync, so the boat was like rocking back and forth, and I was struggling to stay on, but it moved. And it took like 2 minutes to get across this small gap, watching my boat just want to slowly kill itself.
Call that a failure. I call that still a success.
It was a mission failed successfully moment. So like whatever they wanted me to build, I don't know, but that was my biggest failure turned success. But I also have a success in that I was put onto this pretty recently, but the most efficient little aircraft that I could manage to build, 2 wheels, little control stick. You stick the control stick on top of the wheels, and then it's like a little air bike. So anyway, that's not as exciting as my failure, but
The fans.
I'm proud of it. Like the 2 fans. And
I just figured out how to build that today.
yeah.
I don't
So
know
it's
what
really,
that
really
is, and
nice.
I'm gonna need to try it.
Yeah, if you want me to show you a video of it, it's really, really useful. It's cheap
Yeah,
to
please
put
send
together.
it to me because
it's like it's awesome. It's like 3 parts. So
Yeah, it's literally a control stick and then 2 fans at a 45-degree angle, and
yeah,
it's a
you
hovercraft.
schmovin'.
Oh,
It's
You
like
are
a
schmovin'.
Segway.
oh, wild. Yeah, I appreciate Tears of the Kingdom in its constant ability to make me look like an idiot at every opportunity it can.
It's awesome.
It makes me look so dumb.
Yeah. What was I gonna say?
For me, I just really appreciate Bridge Constructor of the Kingdom.
Yes.
My favorite game
There's
is
That's so much that's
So-
true.
So many problems are solved with a bridge, and I love it.
Like, so I could engineer this really neat boat or this really cool hovercraft, or I
can
could
make a
put
really long bridge.
together
I could
and
put
make a
20
bridge.
logs.
I could just get like bunch of ice, bunch of logs, bunch of
Let me-
anything.
Let me just disrupt the
Just
entire
make the longest bridge.
ecosystem of this area so I can make a bridge.
Yep.
Like it's so much
Legend.
easier. Like my greatest fail in building stuff has been not building stuff and just building a big bridge.
Honestly, I didn't ask to be attacked like this, Jess, and I'm kind of offended.
Oh, Numa's just watching all this gameplay and just crying. Like,
I love
Oh, Numa's just like,
Legend
what
of
Oh,
are
he's
these
looking at this.
putting Koroks on a rotisserie
the Korok
He's-
designer's
he's
just
looking at
crying.
our gameplay,
is
he's
the
like-
GM being
and
like,
making
this is
wieners everywhere.
Awanuma is a GM that's like, wait, no, I didn't tell you to do this thing. Put these quests and
Bridge.
your players are on the opposite direction.
Loggies.
That is what it is.
Crucify
I feel
Koroks.
like
Legend of Zelda.
I feel like
Bridge of the
Onuma's
Kingdom.
looking at. I feel like Onuma's looking at my playthrough though and just going like, "Wow, that's a really big bridge." Nice.
And then that ad nauseum,
Right.
because that's all you do.
Oh, did
I
Nintendo
would-
really think that people weren't going to take a game where logs and rocks exist and think that people weren't going to be making a whole bunch of wieners? Because like
They had to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen
They
like
had to know.
full
It's
on
inevitable.
that
mess.
happened.
They
It's
should have
human
thought it.
nature.
It's the rule of the
They
creativity
haven't made
freedom.
one yet, but I am going to.
Oh, I've sent some stuff to like family members who are also in the urology field of like, so this is what you do, right? And they're like, what? No, huh? That confused them.
That's got to be like a speedrun category as a wiener percent, where you just kill Ganon with that. Like
All
whatever
right,
you
I
build.
want to make that my Z-Youthon thing.
Oh my
Make those
god.
Oh my
wieners. That's
God,
gonna be
I'm
my
there.
Z-Youthon segment.
That will get
Do it.
funded immediately.
I will
think
actually
it.
contribute money to that shmoney For Amanda.
Every
Wiener
$10,
percent.
Very-
I'll make another wiener.
Oh my
Amanda,
God,
what's-
we're gonna
Amanda-
be rich.
Very carefully designed.
What is yours? What are yours?
Oh, okay. So my proudest moment is from earlier today. Actually, I did a
Ooh.
shrine. I don't think this is really spoilery because it was just a combat shrine. Whatever. So there was like this like donut of water, lazy river of water that these constructs were on. These Zonai constructs were on, and they were on like double-decker rafts.
I also
And
did this
so-
one earlier. I know
Yeah,
exactly
and-
which one you're talking
I know
about.
this
And
one.
so
Oh.
I know.
rather than go up and fight them and find arrows and everything, I just like took the raft and just pulled it out from underneath them, and then they'd fall in the water. So then I turned it, and then I used that to attach it to the rafts on the next like little lazy river and pulled that out from under them.
Is this
And
just
so that's how I killed every single one
my-
except for the last construct, and that one like by then
That one was like,
I
what the
did
hell,
the
man?
exact same thing.
That is what we call 4D chess. That is thinking the portals. I'm gonna have to
Under the
remember
rug.
what that is, so that when I do it, I could be like,
It's
I know
called
how to do this.
flow, I believe.
flow. Okay,
yeah,
I
something
will.
like
I
that.
will. I will find it and then do that, and then be like, I did it. Thank you, Amanda.
You are quite welcome.
I like that I did the exact same thing though.
Something
Same
about
energy.
great
Boring way.
minds.
Same brain cell.
Is that your greatest
Yeah.
triumph too, Mary?
I think so, but my my blunder is also shrine related. So like it's kind of with you and like the boat. It's boat related. Go figure.
Oh, boats, man.
I
Why
haven't-
it's so
I-
hard? How do boats?
Like there was like a body, like a thing of water, and it was like you had to get across it. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't know what all these parts are for, but I have enough wood to make a bridge and take the thing over here, and we're done. Made a bridge. I'm good.
Right?
Then I
Make a
see a
bridge.
then I see a video the next day of someone doing it the proper way, and I felt like an idiot. I was like, you can make a paddle boat? I was
yeah, how
like,
do you even do
You
that?
can.
do you
Paddle
do
boats
that?
work.
you
And
wheel
they use less
wood.
battery.
Like attach wood to wheel and then it
Amanda's face is so
exactly.
you can make a
I'm like, what do you mean?
This is where it begins, everyone. This is all these
They
like
use-
you can do that in Tears of the
really
Kingdom.
Like,
That's
I
right.
feel
So
really,
use-
really dumb in some of these. I'm like, I don't understand I can't figure this out.
I felt so dumb though. I was like, I didn't even think to do that. Why didn't I think to make a paddle boat? I was just like, what do wheels and water have to do with each other?
I don't know. Maybe
What
that's what I
are
was supposed to do now that I think about it.
How do boat?
How do
No one
boat?
know.
That is the biggest
Look, I
question.
completed the shrine by building a bridge, and that's okay.
I say it works.
Hey,
It's got Jesse's
Modern
approval.
Mini shrines.
Big bridge.
The statues at the end said it works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
therefore,
You got blessed
He
either
gave
way,
your blessing, his
so
blessing.
yeah. So
it's correct.
yeah.
Oh my god.
I think one thing I greatly appreciate on this, especially for me, because I think I've had more blunders than I've had successes,
Same.
is the Acme Industries like Wile E. Coyote level shenanigans and chicanery evolved with everything here. Of I am flying my bird plane with my two things, and then I start seeing something flash, and then all of a sudden I don't have a bird anymore, and everything's disappeared, and I'm like, shit.
Fallen.
There was a moment, actually, it wasn't even like related to anything like in terms of building,
Hmm.
but I was in one of the areas, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just keep falling to void out, and then I didn't void out, and I went, oh no, I forgot. But I've had moments where I've accidentally absolutely blew myself up because I'm
Oh,
like,
me too.
oh, what's this
Oh
thing?
yeah.
All
And
the
I'm
time.
dead.
All the time.
One time
Again,
I forgot to attach a rocket, and I just hit the rocket, and it just went away without the thing I was supposed to, like,
I've done something, I've done something and it's gone
Many
away, and I'm like, well,
vehicles.
yeah, I've lost so many vehicles, and I'm like, well, and
and there
you
it
know
goes.
what? Like, you know what happened
Can
to
I
Can I
me?
recall?
sheer-
Can I
Trying to
recall?
learn.
Oh, okay.
I tried to learn how to build that hovercraft like in the middle of a shrine quest because I wanted to use that little hovercraft to carry something.
Yeah.
And while I was building it, I put the fans in the wrong direction. The whole thing careened off a sky island, and I didn't. So I just got to stare at my creation, and all my Zonai parts just
There it goes.
falling away. Goodbye.
What happens to me more times than it should, and after this you can go, Daniel, but what happens to me more times than it should, and it feels like straight out of like Animaniacs or Looney Tunes or something. I'll like spend a couple minutes just constructing like the bird, right? You get like the little bird part, and I could put fans and batteries on it. So I'm here like stacking all this stuff and, you know, making sure that it looks nice and weight distribution looks good. And then I'm like, okay, now time to get on it. And my strat usually is to lift it up and then let it fall and then recall it so that I can stand on it and then get on it.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening sometimes, especially when I'm in a hilly region, is I'll like put it in the air and then it'll start falling, and I'm like, oh crap! And then I need to get my recall out, and then by that point, like the time I get the recall out, it's already too far, and I just have to watch it all just fly away. I can't even go get it; it's just too far. And I'm like, I hate me. I hate me. Why did I do that? All the time. All the time. It makes me laugh when I'm by myself.
This
My
game
FBI
is the
agent
most
sure loves it.
humbling.
Yeah, it's
It
great.
was so funny watching me desperately try and use recall to get my vehicle back after it fell off, only to realize that it was just too far out of range, and I waited a millisecond too long to
Like-
hit the button.
Damn, that's crazy.
Bye,
The
creation.
comedic timing of this game, seriously, like you put the base for a cart together and you put the wheels on, and then you have the little handle because you're gonna have like a fan on it, but also you want to give it an extra boost, so you put a rocket on it
I know where this is
instead.
going.
Oh no.
So when you hit the rocket, the entire base, the wood just disintegrates, and the wheels are just there, and the wheels stand up for like a second, and then they all just kind of topple over, and it's just like straight out of a Looney Tunes
And then-
cartoon. And Link's just there like,
Wile E. Coyote.
well,
It's Wile E. Coyote energy in the best possible way. Also, I hope you have it on video because that is hilarious.
Oh man, I
didn't think of it. But I'm sure there's instances on the internet of that just happening to some degree.
God, it's so,
Yo, but can I say, though, the
love
people-
fails. It's so funny.
The people who have been able to actually like take advantage of how things like destroy other things.
Dude.
Like there was a certain vehicle that's been floating around the YouTube and around the Twitter. I don't know if it's spoilery to even mention that such a vehicle exists. If you haven't seen it, it's like a crate. I don't even.
Is
know
it a
if I should-
Roomba?
It's cooler than a
I mean,
cooler
it was
than a
probably
Roomba.
shown in,
Okay,
like,
it was
a
different.
trailer.
No, this was not shown in a trailer.
Huh.
This is like someone's very creative.
Is it story
Someone has
related?
made like a drone.
Oh, nice.
A
What?
real
Oh, yeah.
honest to
Wait,
God
yeah.
Oh, I think I know what you saw now.
I think I know
drone with a drop ship.
too. Yeah.
So
Wow.
so the
I-
drone
it's-
launches in the air, and then it deploys a second drone that drops off
It's
and uses
crazy.
a part destructing itself in order to drop the drone.
What the fuck?
So people have learned that
Craft.
so now people are taking this destructible the stuff that was accidents, and now they're using it as
Yeah.
an actual building mechanic to make multi-stage deployment mechanisms.
Yep.
That's so
That's
cool.
insanity, but also, man, people are creative.
I've seen,
I
like-
respect it.
It's so creative.
Fully
I
enclosed
love this game.
tactical stealth
love this
bombers
game.
flying over Hyrule, and I'm over here with my
You know-
stupid
Dude,
fire
I'm
boat.
like,
just-
bridge.
Me.
I'm just happy to make a bridge. Like stick an icicle at the end of a halberd and just stab at the water. And there's two
Yeah.
platforms. So walk
Yeah,
over it,
I'm
stab
just-
again. There's two more platforms, and you just keep doing that across.
Easy.
I'm just like, I feel smart enough. Like I just built fire, making this ice bridge, man.
I'm just
We've
sitting
created
on my
fire.
eagle, yelling "Fly like an eagle into the future," and that's it.
Yeah. So
It's the little things that feel like
This game
they
requires
make
work
accomplishments, because like I'll make a vehicle in a, well, you didn't discuss it, but I'll make a vehicle in a let's say a dark place that you can't really see much, and then
Yeah.
just attach the fruit that makes light on the vehicle, so now you have the whole area illuminated while you drive around, and it's like,
that's my little
and
bike.
it's like
Mhm.
You gotta-
Doesn't use any battery.
In one of the areas.
Mm.
But yeah, just the creation of these vehicles. I don't even know if I guess that was my turn.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I guess another thing was I guess it kind of spoils one of the Zonai items, which isn't really much of a spoiler because you don't really see or use them very often. But it's the stabilizer. The one that like it lays down and then you kind of use this
You hit it and like pops back up.
Yeah, and so there was like a hole on the side of a wall somewhere. I don't even know where it was anymore, but there was an opening to a cave, I think, or some kind of some kind of opening. And so I was like, I could climb there, but what if I tried something else? And so I had a stabilizer, and I was near one of those areas where you had they just have supplies out, like the planks of wood and such. Mm-hmm. So I would just stick on top of this head of the stabilizer, I would just stick a long path instead, and then long enough so that I can still activate it. And so when I hit it, Link at the very end, it'll fling upwards because when you hit it, it goes straight up, and you will just get
flingy bridge.
You'll get so much vertical and horizontal distance, sometimes too much, and you end up somewhere you don't want to be.
There's a shrine that teaches you how to use those things, and
but not make a full-on catapult.
It didn't make me a link.
No, you do. You have to make a catapult in order to clear the shrine.
I did that outside somewhere else. I was like, how long can I actually make this catapult? Because I wanted to take
as long as a bridge.
You can make it pretty long, and you just go flying.
Make a bridge that goes up and down like that with two stabilizers.
A drawbridge.
Yeah, a drawbridge.
You could make a drawbridge. I really want.
Forget though, like the notification that says you can't attach anymore. That makes me mad when I get that.
I've never gotten that.
There
What are you
I've
doing?
never seen that. What? There's a limit.
I've been like trying to build a bridge, and it's like you can't attach anymore. I'm like, what do you mean I can't attach anymore?
I wonder if it's.
I haven't been making big enough bridges. I can go more. I can do more. There's
more bridge to be bridged.
I need to go further.
You know, like it wasn't all that many pieces.
Bridge.
There's like a lot of things that they don't really end up telling you. Like, did you know when you're doing things with Ultra Hand, you press ZL and it makes it flat without any.
I learned
learned that today.
What?
And I was like, why didn't they tell that in the controls?
What?
That would have saved me so much freaking time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No matter what angle you have something, you press ZL and it'll just go flat horizontally. And I'm just like, why didn't they just explain that somewhere?
That's not even in the button prompts when you're doing it.
With that shit.
Weird.
Man. I appreciate a lot of stuff, but I do feel like there is only so much that you can do max because again, it's also running on old stuff, which like I remembered with the Blood Moons of like, oh right, this is a RAM clear. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So that it can reset. So it's like, all right, we done too much. Let me reset so we don't crash.
I was just informed
I didn't know
of that
that's
the
what
other
it was.
That's the Blood Moon, right?
Yeah.
Did you not know?
Anytime
Yeah.
I get into a blood moon, I just go someplace and go to sleep until like morning, so I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
I like to watch it.
I didn't know the
Nice.
game reason for it, but I knew like that's makes scary stuff happen.
Yeah, they have their little
Yeah,
tricks.
I was really curious how they were gonna. I was really curious how they were gonna attack that from a narrative standpoint in Tears of the Kingdom, because it seemed like the Blood Moon had something narratively to do with it, but it's still just a RAM clear.
I'm okay
Just
with it.
I actually, this time when it happened for the first time, I'm like, oh, I wonder if we've actually figured out how long it is between. And then I actually found out it's like 2.5, 3 hours of gameplay.
You can force it by like overloading the game or something.
Oh, you can force it by doing crazy other
By
things.
building a tactical stealth bomber.
By building a
Really long
tactical
bridge.
stealth bridge.
Yep.
I was gonna say.
Yes,
Oh my god.
I try to make the longest possible bridge you can.
All right, that's my homework. I'm gonna do that too.
I think like this is really,
100%.
this is truly why we need the Switch Pro to have bridges without limits.
That's what I'm waiting for. That's why I want it. No other
If
reason.
I'm gonna build a bridge from Hyrule to Labrina,
I mean, it's gotta be.
it can only happen on the Switch Pro. Come on, Nintendo.
Dude, I'm gonna build a bridge from Cairo to Koholint. Try and stop me.
This
I don't
guy.
know where it is. Out there somewhere.
Isn't that how he got
Build a
stranded in
bridge
the
from
first place?
Hyrule to Lorule.
I roll to New Jersey. Let's go.
Yeah, to New Jersey, downtown
Jersey.
New Jersey, baby.
Hey, let's go. Secaucus, even though that's north.
All right. I think I've kind of listed all the blunders and stuff that I've made with my building. It's fun. It's really, really fun. But
If you have some, please send
Yeah.
them.
yeah, I do. I got to go find the VOD and I'll send it to you guys. You can laugh at my misfortune. But anyways, I think that's about it. So thank you guys for joining me today for this month's episode. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to do my best to make sure that this podcast is run on a monthly basis and regularly updated over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That way you can listen to these discussions in whichever way you prefer. Anyway, we're pretty much at the end here, but before we go, I want to take a second, go around the table one last time, and give each of you 5 seconds. 5, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And tell our listeners where we can find you, starting with Daniel. Lead us off.
I feel like there's a pressure's on when you put me first when all these lovely Zelda universe people are here
You're
in the
just
Zelda
there.
discussion.
You're
I'm
first
just
in
like,
my list of Discord people.
I'm just here. My name's Daniel Alba. I do graphic design, video production, video editing. You can see me on Good Vibes Gaming. I did a video right before Zelda came out. If you want to go watch that, it's about embracing adventure, and everyone had a pretty positive reaction to that. I was proud with that one. But yeah, I catch me on Twitter at Evernight Studio if you want to. I'll do all my graphic updates there as well.
Sweet. Jess, after you.
Yeah, so again, I am Jess Rappaport.
The owner of Zelda Universe.
I am on Twitter as Golden Chaos, and that's where I am on most platforms except Twitch, where I am Jess Rappaport. And of course, make sure to follow Zelda, and follow Zelda Universe as well, which is just at Zelda Universe on Twitter, and go to Zelda Maps, zeldamaps.com. Track your Koroks.
ZeldaMaps.com. Putting it
I'm
out
gonna
there in the
mention that
world.
in Zelda Weekly.
Yeah. Lex, you're next.
Okay. I'll
hope you're
jump
ready.
in before.
You better be.
Never. Never am. I'll also jump into the Zelda universe stuff before I talk about myself. Make sure you also check out all the other stuff on our Twitch, our YouTube. Check out our shows like Zelda Weekly, our other great content. There's a lot of stuff there.
Realms of the Wild.
We're starting a new campaign of that June 17th, so get hyped.
I'm hyped.
All the other cool things that we're doing. We have a lot going at ZU. In the meantime, hi, my name is Lex. I am the AV head of media at ZU. You can find me at that Lex Plays on most places of the internet, and starting very soon for a probably very small period of time, you can find me messing around at Elgato because I am their social intern for the summer. So you might see me over there just a little bit. For a very small period,
I
unless
hope
they
so.
hire me for
That's so cool.
I hope so. We're all
Yeah.
boycotting. Mary and Hestu.
Yes, Lil has to. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. Mary Wants a Cookie. I am, of course, the social media director behind Zelda Universe, but my lovely colleagues have already promoted the heck out of our platforms. And then you can also see me doing all sorts of cool stuff over on the Destructoid TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch.
Sweet.
And then Hestu's socials at Yahaha.
I love the new Hestu dance, by the way.
It's so good.
This is
It's
fun.
cute.
I want little Hestu maracas in real life. All right, Amanda featuring Squishmallows and Tasha, I think, in Sidon. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Got Sidon. I don't think Tasha's in here. I think you just see a Korok.
Yeah, maybe.
So you can find Prince Sidon and me over at Zelda Universe as the host of Zelda Weekly.
Okay.
And you can also find me on Twitter at Amanda Van Heil, on Twitch at Panda Princessa, and also on Zelda Universe TV. You will see both of us there.
Fantastic.
And my cats.
Cool. I love that.
Man.
Well, with that, I think that concludes our discussion. So, once again, if you're still watching or listening, thank you for making it this far. And I look forward to hearing you guys' thoughts in the comments below or in streams or whatever you decide to share your thoughts with me. We'll be back next month for some probably spoiler discussion of this game. So maybe you'll see some of these faces return next month. I
So
don't know.
basically, we need to
Depends.
finish the game.
Depends.
no
I mean,
rush.
there's no
All
rush.
of us.
I mean,
I
I'll
I wasn't
probably
planning on doing that.
Yeah, I was
All right,
probably
y'all,
gonna
we
be
got a
done,
month. Roll
yeah.
credits.
but this is now a legally binding agreement. But
We
anyway,
gotta
we'll
do
be
the
back.
podcast. We gotta get back to playing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We'll be back next month, but before we take off, there's only one thing left to say, and that is, of course, as always, I'm alecandstuff. Do your best out there. I'm rooting for you, and I will see you all again next month. Yay! Okay, bye.
Bye.
We meet
Everyone
again.
say bye. Okay, cool.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi there! Thank you for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, feel free to hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more, and hopefully we'll see each other again in the next video. Bye!